Hi, everybody. You're listening to the Oneness Junkie podcast, hosted by me, Lydia Smith, a self-proclaimed Oneness Junkie. Oneness Junkie is a place to be inspired, encouraged, and supported. Learn from the individuals who are working to make the world a better place. Let's meet today's guest. Hello, everyone. It's Lydia with the Oneness Junkie podcast and YouTube channel. And today I'm excited to introduce you to our guest, Reina-Shay Broussard. Hi, Reina-Shay.
Hi, Lydia. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So many of you know I like to start off my podcast by talking about whether I'm meeting my guest for the first time or if I already know my guest. And I am proud to say I've known Reina-Shay, if I was to guess, I would say since 1998. When did you start then? Was that the time?
I think it was about 2000.
Okay, so 2000.
A good
All right.
23 years.
A long time ago, 23 years. Yes. So we met at a spiritual center and we were connected and did a lot of fun and social things together. And so I'm excited to share with you who she's become and what she's doing today. And as y'all all know, how she's spending her time and her talents to make the world a better place. So let me get started with Reina-Shay. Would you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. My name's Reina-Shay Broussard. I go by Reina-Shay. And a lot of people get my name confused. So it is two words, one name, Reina-Shay. And I thought I would share, I've had a bit of a diverse background. I taught English language learners in mostly public school for about 16 years. But I also have a master's in Oriental medicine, and I'm a licensed acupuncturist in Texas. And I have a Master of Fine Arts in creative writing, editing, and publishing. Well, then I went on a little adventure that I call my crazy aunt adventure year, where I stayed 2 weeks at a time with 27 different people over a year and a month. And towards the end of that, I started having some chronic health issues return that had been in the background for a good 15 years. So when unfortunately, I reached a point where I was so disabled that I couldn't work. And during that time, there was a period of time where I asked myself, well, what is the purpose of my life if I can't do anything? And what I came to understand was that even if I can't do, I can still be and be present with people and listen to people. And so I decided to enter a program to become a spiritual director. So now I am a spiritual director and also a licensed Unity teacher.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to mention just a little tiny detail about what you said, that when she was out and about hanging out with people for, what did you say, 2 years?
2 weeks. It was 2 weeks at a time for
right. But you were driving around the country exploring the United States when you did that, right?
Yeah, that wasn't even my original intention. It's just that I have friends who live all over the country. And when I first came up with the idea, I'll be honest, I expected my closest friends to dissuade me and say, you're crazy. That's a crazy idea. But instead, they said, oh, you can stay with me for 2 weeks. You can stay with me for 2 weeks. I talked in the first day, I had like 3 friends that I just shared the idea with. And they said, you can stay with me for 2 weeks. So they didn't discourage me from this crazy idea.
And I remember I hosted you a couple of days in 2015 because I remember the apartment I was in.
Well, I think I also stayed with you a couple of days during that year that I call my crazy aunt adventure year.
Yeah.
I had a class that I needed to take in Houston.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember. So, while you've been working through this challenge that you have talked about, the disability, you were sharing with me that you were, experiencing some suffering in that process. Let's talk a little bit about the journey that this has taken you down, because I want the listeners who listen to the show to feel inspired, because even though it can be a dark place, you found light inside this experience, right?
I would say yes, indeed. One of the things I came to understand through my own experience combined with my spiritual studies is that there is a difference between pain and suffering. And pain is a part of life. We all experience some kind of pain at some point in our lives. But I believe suffering is a mental attitude, and we can choose whether or not we feel we are suffering. And I do think that I've um, learned to mostly shift out of the suffering, even when I have pain. But I'm not going to say that I'm perfect. I certainly have times, in fact, recently, I've experienced some brand new health challenges that I didn't expect. And I've had some suffering, and I've had to really um, coach myself out of choosing that mental state of suffering into what gratitude, and um, not letting that pain get me down.
Yeah. I agree. Pain is inevitable. It's actually a part of life. There's no way to avoid it, but it's all in the reaction to it, right? Whether that's going to
Mhm.
cause suffering or not. And any of the listeners who have chosen to listen to several of my other episodes have heard I'm not shy about sharing all of my suffering that I have done throughout my life. And I too, this is something you and I, Reina-Shay, can resonate on, about the choice when you realize you have an empowered place to come from, the choice is yours and it gives you access to freedom, right?
Mm, yeah.
So I know you and I were talking about how just because you find the tools to actually handle your pain and your suffering doesn't mean you don't suffer sometimes. You just access those tools over and over again, right? We were talking about that.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah. And I just want to mention this one other thing, and then I want you to share with us what are some of those tools but you know when you teach how to work through suffering and you still experience suffering, you can have that feeling of imposter syndrome, like how can I teach other people not how to not suffer, and here I am suffering. And so
Mhm.
I just want us to reiterate the fact that just because you're a teacher of something doesn't mean you don't experience it. It just
Mm.
means that you have something, a guiding light to share, and hopefully bringing light into someone else's darkness, right, Reina-Shay?
Indeed. And a
Yeah.
lot of people, I mean, you know, when I'm having, I'm over here having chronic illness, and the chronic illness doesn't just go away, because I teach, concepts that I think can help others. But um, I, I'm, oh, I got lost there.
It's okay. We were talking about chronic suffering, when you imposter syndrome, like just
Right.
because you teach it doesn't mean you don't feel it and experience it. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And so when I still experience the pain, and I still at times can get stuck in the experience of suffering, and I have a tremendous support system around me that will remind me, hey, you know how to get out of this, and then I can use the tools that I know to do that.
Let's talk about those. Why don't you share with us what are the tools that you use when you actually are experiencing suffering?
Well, I really have a diverse variety of tools, but when I think specifically about moving from pain and out of suffering, I have a 3-step process that I think of. And it's breathe, go to the heart, and be in gratitude. So breathing, obviously, when you're in pain, especially high levels of pain, just focusing on the breath in through the nose, out through the mouth can help to lessen that pain, a lot on its own, just breathing. It's not a guarantee, but it can, if you stay present in the moment with the pain and the breath, that can help a lot. But then I suggest, because it's something I struggle with, is bringing my attention, which I can get very heady. So bringing my attention from my head down into my heart center. And then I kind of visualize even that breath, I'm breathing in and out of my heart center rather than just my mouth.
Yeah.
And then as I'm doing that, it brings us into the presence of all that is, I believe. And that's where I choose to be in gratitude. And I'll tell you, even when I am in tremendous pain, I can find something to be grateful for. And one that I say is, when I'm in a lot of pain, I'm grateful that I'm not living on a sidewalk somewhere. I am grateful that I have a safe and comfortable home and a comfortable bed and chair to sit in. And I have people who support me. And just that basic level of gratitude helps to move me out of the mental state or anguish of suffering, even though I might be in pain.
Yes. One of the things that I do if I'm in physical pain, and you and I talked about this yesterday when we were on a phone call, is that I have a little mantra, and I think I learned it from either Abraham Hicks or Louise Hay has it on her little notepad, and it's all is well, all is well. And I just say that mantra. Like if I wake up and my heart's beating fast and I feel anxiety, I can just breathe and say, all is well, all is well. And just you get your focus on the all is well. And I promise you, I don't know if it's activating the divine or what, but it's like it comes through you and just causes you like a blanket of energetic calm and fills your body. Do you have that experience?
I do. In fact, all is well is one of my favorite mantras for my personal meditation. And I agree that it helps me to have an experience of peace, or shalom, as some people say.
Yeah. So, really, I don't know, is there anything else that you want to share with us about the experience of suffering or joy? I mean, let's kind of shift gears, okay? Let's leave this on a high note. I'll share my personal thoughts about the suffering is when and Abraham talks about this, when you experience the contrast, you desire the opposite. Okay. So if you're in suffering, that really wraps your mind around how you want the opposite of suffering. And so you start experiencing the desire, which activates the laws of attraction to come to you. So just believe that while you're in the suffering, you are summoning the joy to come and take over your experience as well.
Oh, I like that. And I know your middle name is Joy, and I love that you have an intention to presence joy in the world. What you were just saying reminded me of what I kind of already referenced when I was in a great amount of pain, and I was really questioning my purpose in life. For me, the opposite of being in that pain and not being able to do was to realize that I think one of the greatest purposes in our lives is to be of service. And so that's when I started deciding that I wanted to be of service in an area that's very personal to me. Even though I did those other degrees and had other jobs, I've been on an intentional spiritual journey for a long, long time. And I think I have some wisdom to share with people in that area. And that's, so I do the spiritual direction is one-on-one, and I also teach classes. And I think the common denominator between those is that I create sacred space for people. And to me, that's a great purpose in my life that I act as a facilitator to allow people to create a space in which people feel safe and comfortable sharing their insights, their personal experiences, and their learnings about various spiritual concepts that we might be discussing. And I think one of the biggest ways that I do that is through listening, but really intentional listening. Like I'm really being present and my heart is open to whatever it is that people have to share, that they know they can share and they're not going to feel judged by me, certainly in the space that I create for them, that it's safe to be who you are, no matter who that is.
That's beautiful. If for our listeners who are listening, because I have people all over the globe actually who listen to the Oneness Junkie podcast. I have a shout out to Poland because I have a girl that listens from Poland in Canada. So because you do work through like a platform like this, like a Zoom type platform, and you can work with clients through your digital media platforms, what is a person listening? Where would you say like anyone experiencing XYZ might be a good fit for you to work with? Like, who do you think you're going to be the most beneficial to? And maybe someone will hear themselves in that response.
Right. Well, definitely anyone experiencing chronic illness who might be questioning where God is in their lives, because I think I can personally relate to that.
Yeah. Or if they've lost hope, right? If they've lost hope, they need a spiritual guide to help them get back into their purpose for living.
Yeah. And also a certain area that I feel some people need or will want spiritual direction is people who've experienced childhood spiritual or religious trauma. Because there are, unfortunately, some religious organizations that have caused young people, people when they were young, to think that God doesn't love them or God punishes them.
Or abandon them.
And I really believe in a God that loves everyone. I really believe that the message at the core of most of the major religions is love, and that I don't want anyone on this planet to believe or be told that they are not included in God's love. That, everyone is entitled and is connected to the oneness and all that is. And they all deserve to know and experience and feel that love.
Yeah. I just got introduced to that book called Contact with Ra, R-A, and it's the Law of One.
Yeah.
And I'm like on chapter 60. And I am amazed. This is like my new Bible because I am amazed at all the answers to life that we all wondered, like how were the pyramids built and how was there really an Atlantis and all these questions, how was the world created and what is the world a part of, the galaxy, and are there other worlds? All these are answered in this context. And I'm so amazed to have been ready for this information, to have it become part of my life experience, that I even reached out to the people who produced that book. And the man is the only one person out of the three is still alive. And he's like in his 80s. And I reached out. I want to have him on the show and share the message. It's all about oneness. And what I want to say about what I took away from I've been in the spiritual development and unity, love, and oneness movement since 1997. And what I have now understood is what I was taught as a Christian in the Baptist religion about we have free will. Well, that was always introduced to me in my Bible days. And the law of one explains what free will is. And so what you just said about we all have the right to be, express, act however we choose, and everyone is a part of the oneness, and we should all accept even the bad, which is really hard to understand. How is the bad part of the oneness? But it's just a polar opposite to the good. So it's a polarity thing. And so when you get these kinds of answers and understandings about our existence, it opens up a whole new understanding. And so we are all have free will to choose what we want for ourselves, and our experience will dictate our choices. Are actually the other way around. Our choices, let me say it that way, our choices will dictate our experience because we are active creators in our own experience through free will. So anyway.
Yeah, that book sounds fascinating. I'm definitely adding it to my to be read list.
I will tell you, and I told my sister, she doesn't like Audible, but I told her I'm going to gift her, like download the app, and I gifted her a copy of it on Audible because the way that it's to me, it would be really hard to read because what they do is they're just asking questions and then the answers are coming from the contact. And so it's like, who built the pyramids? Do aliens exist? It's like, to me, listening to it. And then sometimes my mind goes off thinking of something else based on what they said that relates to my experience. And then I can easily hit the back 10 seconds, back 30 seconds and hear it again. And so I can like be washing dishes or cleaning the house or whatever while I'm listening to it on Alexa. So I do recommend, it is kind of nice to have it on Audible. Because I know Audible. You can. Yeah. So good. So you have that. But I mean, personally, I just recommend that. I probably will buy the book, but just because it's like for me, it's like the Seat of the Soul. You got to have a copy, because the Seat of the Soul was like my Bible in 2000. Yeah. So, and I will say, for anyone who's denounced like religion and the Bible and, oh, that's not true or whatever, actually, Ross says all the pieces of the Bible that are good come from good consciousness. So yes, that is true information. It's when you hear words like, thou shalt not do this and thou shall not do that. That takes away your free will. So those are not, that comes from the darker side trying to control free will. So even though it made it in the Bible, it doesn't mean it came from God. It got communicated and intercepted to control. So you got to learn how to recognize in the Bible what came from good and what came from your their need to take away your free will.
Yeah.
It's a very amazing book. I'm just like so in awe of it right now. So
it does sound great.
I know. So do you have any, so how do people get in touch with you if they want to find you and work with you? What do they do to get in touch with you? By the way, don't say your phone number online.
No, I'm going to say my website.
Okay, that's fine. I just don't want you to put a phone number on a podcast.
Yeah, it's Reina-Shay.com.
Okay.
So it's Reina-Shay run together like one word without the hyphen, .com.
Okay, and just because people are not always know how to spell Reina-Shay, it's REINASHAY.com. That's easy.
Yeah.
Great. Do you have any final words of wisdom that you want to say, leave our guest with?
Oh, well, you mentioned about your favorite mantra, all is well. And I use that one a lot in my personal meditation, but also I often like to remind myself and others that the universe is always conspiring in our favor.
That's great. I say that too. And I'm going to give you a little plug. For probably 20 of the 23 years that I've known you, on your voicemail message, you say, instead of saying goodbye, you say, create a great day. And every time I hear that or think it, I think of you, Reina-Shay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So apparently I've gone to your voicemail quite a bit.
And my email. I sign my email off that way too. So
I love that. I love that. And every once in a while, if I say it to someone, I'm like channeling Reina-Shay.
Which reminds me, I do also have a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/the Reina-Shay.
Okay.
The THE in front.
Did somebody already get Reina-Shay?
I think it was me, and it was an old Hotmail email address that I couldn't access.
That's hilarious. Oh, well, we know how that goes.
Yep.
All of us who got into the internet early.
Yep.
All right, cool. So thank you so much, Reina-Shay, for being here. And it's been a joy. And I just truly do wish you well on your journey.
Well, thank you for having me. And to everybody out there listening, create a great day.
Yes. Woo! All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you. We've reached the end of this episode. If you'd like to continue with this inspirational journey, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. If you are a self-proclaimed oneness junkie, get yourself a t-shirt and spread the message of oneness in your community. And finally, if you have a story to share or know someone that should be a guest on this podcast, contact us at onenessjunkie.com. See you next time. And remember, when we heal ourselves, we heal the world. Compassion starts with you and me.